Hey guys, Manfred Hartman here with another episode of Vapor Trails. Today we are battling in the skies over Norway, and I am flying the Focke-Wulf 190A4. Now, while this plane has an adorable snub-nosed profile, don't let its exterior fool you. This machine is absolutely deadly. The reason I wanted to bring you guys this video is, at the end of my last video, there was an example of a relatively new player who didn't really understand the capabilities of this aircraft, and unfortunately I think that's fairly common among 190 pilots out there. So hopefully this 6-kill match will provide an example of what's possible with this aircraft when flown correctly. Here I'm just checking to see if I recognize any of the other names in the match, and I notice that there's a 3-man squad on the opposing side, and I make a mental note of that because squads on comms can be incredibly dangerous. The Focke-Wulf 190 series was designed by the legendary aeronautical engineer Kurt Tonk, and it was first flown in June of 1939 and entered service in 1941. It's a wide landing gear that made it easy to take off and land, excellent visibility, high altitude performance aided by its newly designed paddle-bladed propeller, as well as its extremely powerful radial engine, which was easier to build and maintain than the inline engine of the 109s, endeared it to pilots and ground crews. When it first came into service, the main opponent for the 190 was the RAF's Spitfire Mark V, and it quickly proved to be the superior aircraft, and gave the Luftwaffe a distinct advantage in air dominance. The Focke-Wulf 190 series was far ahead of its time, and but for the fact that the Messerschmitt design had more political clout in the higher ranks of the Third Reich, it could have been the marquee fighter of the Luftwaffe, and all I can say is it's very fortunate for the Allies that that didn't happen. In War Thunder, the A4 has a battle rating of 4.3, which means it can potentially meet P-51Ds and late war Spitfires. That makes it absolutely essential that you climb as aggressively as you can. This is a plane that absolutely needs the altitude advantage to be used effectively. You're not going to be helping your team out if you are below the enemy. Fortunately, the A4 variant has quite a good climb rate actually, thanks to its low stall speed, meaning that if you use a very aggressive climb angle and just whip it out, you can keep up with the 109s in the climb. In my experience, I find the A4 climbs best at about 230 kilometers per hour. So what I typically will do is pick up speed to about 400 kilometers per hour at a low climb angle, and then go into a 20-degree climb until I hit up 230 kilometers per hour, and then gradually reduce my climb angle to maintain that speed. One thing to note is that all of the MG151s are actually mounted in the wings, which means that this is a rare German fighter where convergence matters. I typically set mine to 400 meters because I like to hold my fire until I'm relatively close. Within 500 meters to 300 meters is my typical engagement envelope. Here, I've spotted our first customers for the day. I've spotted a grouping of 4 dots against the clouds below me, so I'm just angling myself here to intercept the trailing aircraft in this formation. Remember that squad from earlier? Well, it turns out that they're right below us, so this is a great opportunity to take out our most dangerous opponents in one go. Now it appears these P-39s don't see me coming, so I'm going to hold my fire until the last possible moment so that I can maintain the element of surprise. Just line them up, take the lead, and the killing blow. Now the other 39s see me coming and go into a dive to try to avoid me, but I guess their mothers never told them you're never going to beat a Focke-Wulf 190 in a dive. Line up my second target, a couple of speculative shots to get the range, solid hit there, and the killing blow. And now you'll notice that the other P-39 snapped its wings trying to make a high-speed maneuver to avoid me, so seeing as I caused that kill, I'm going to call that 3 kills in 1 dive and the most dangerous squad in the match out. Not bad, if I do say so myself. Now, here's the really important bit. You see, exactly what I'm doing after this dive is going right back into a climb. I'm making no lateral movements whatsoever. I'm continuing on in a straight line and making sure that I get as much of my altitude back as possible before making a bank back towards the enemy. And if you guys take nothing else from this video, let it be this. When you're flying the Focke-Wulf 190 series, straight lines are your friend. You want to avoid turning as much as possible. The only time that you want to be turning is if you miss your enemy on the first pass and you need to make slight movements on your boom out to avoid return fire. But other than that, you really want to avoid making any lateral movements. Turn fighting in this thing is the easiest way to get killed. Unfortunately for me, though, acquiring those 3 kills has put me far out of position to engage the rest of the enemy team, so let's skip ahead to the next engagement. So here we are after a couple of minutes of climbing towards the center of the map, and I discover that one of my teammates is under attack by what appear to be 2 very aggressive enemies, so I decide to give him some assistance. As I enter my dive, however, I actually discover that there are 4 enemies here, so we definitely need to get into this scrap. But we need to be cautious about it. Note how I make very minimal lateral movements during the dive, and I try to maintain as much speed as possible during the pass. I experience a moment of indecision on who to go for here, but as the Spitfire breaks low and the P-39 breaks high, it makes the decision quite easy. And there's our 4th kill. During the pass, I happen to notice, however, that all 3 of the remaining enemies in this area are below me, so instead of going straight to preserve my energy, I decide to do a quick hammerhead turn and see if I can't spike another one from above while they appear to be target locked on this BF-109. The nice thing about booming someone out of a cloud bank is you can see them, but they can't see you. So here I'm just trying to take advantage of that for as long as possible, and then I'm going to keep my nose low to get my speed up really high so I can get this shot in before the Spitfire realizes I'm even there. I line up the shot, and we take a huge chunk out of his tail section. Unfortunately, we don't land a killing blow, but that Mark 9 is no longer a combat effective unit. Unfortunately, 2 of our BF-109 teammates also noticed that, including the guy that I just saved from that Spitfire, and they try to spike this guy while he is vulnerable. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, so I'm going to go down and see if I can't get to him before they do and finish off this kill. Fortunately, these 109 pilots are not particularly good shots, so that affords me the opportunity to pick up where I left off. This Spitfire pilot actually was quite skilled. He banks underneath me to deny me the opportunity of that high-speed pass, so I have to go back into the vertical, do a barrel roll to preserve my energy and get back on his 6. The 109 takes another pass at this Spitfire and misses, and that affords me the opportunity to get my ace in a day, 5th kill. As I pull out of my dive, I notice this 109 has stalled out in front of me, and since I have a lot of speed on, there's no way he's going to be able to avoid my guns. Line him up, take the shot, 6th kill. At this point, there's just one enemy plane left alive. It's that Spitfire off in the distance, and he appears to be running for his base AAA, so let's just speed up to the end. So here we are within striking distance of the final player on the enemy team, and this little island here has probably the fiercest AAA in the entire game of War Thunder. But notice how I avoid this AAA. I'm not too worried here because simply by making these exaggerated dolphin-like maneuvers in the vertical, the AAA has a very difficult time tracking me, and I actually end up going through this entire maelstrom without a scratch. It appears this Spitfire's engine may have died, so yeah, I don't really consider that to be a kill, but Considering that I caused that earlier opponent's wings to snap in my first dive, I just consider that as recompense for that earlier slight. And that's the end of the match. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you can also see that if you treat this plane correctly, it can be quite a devastating little machine. The key is to ensure that you have the altitude advantage, make high-speed slashing passes, and fly as much as you can in a straight line to preserve your speed and energy. So we end up with first place on the team with 6 kills and a whole bucket full of awards. Also, we end up with nearly 100,000 in Silver Lions in a single match, so overall, pretty good match. Please click that like and subscribe button below if you enjoyed this, and remember, get high, stay high. That's the winning strategy. Yeah.